the ocean at night transforms into something primordial and unknowable. For the pilots flying missions during America's global war on terror, the darkness below held more than just enemy positions and hostile territory. Between 2003 and 2019, a series of incident reports filtered through classified channels. Reports that would never make it into official after-action summaries or evening news broadcasts. These weren't your typical aviation anomalies. Weather phenomena, equipment malfunctions, enemy contact. Those have established protocols, standardized reporting procedures that every aviator knows by heart. But what do you document when experienced naval aviators, flying state-of-the-art aircraft, equipped with the most advanced sensor packages ever deployed by the US military, report massive biological contacts moving through the water at impossible speeds? When thermal imaging picks up signatures that don't match any known marine life in our oceans, when sonar operators detect acoustic patterns that seem almost intentional, almost communicative, the fog of war has always referred to the uncertainty and confusion that exists in military operations, the chaos that obscures truth and makes clear decision-making nearly impossible. But for a select group of American aviators operating over the Arabian Sea, Persian Gulf, and Mediterranean during the height of our nation's longest conflict, that fog concealed something else entirely. Something that challenged not just their mission parameters, but their fundamental understanding of what lives beneath the waves they patrolled night after night, year after year. These are their accounts, testimonies from the men and women who served our country in the skies above some of the most contested waters on Earth. If you're new here and these kinds of true military accounts intrigue you, consider subscribing for more stories from America's servicemen and women. These testimonies deserve to be heard, and there are more waiting to be told. Now, let's step into the fog of war and examine what our pilots reported seeing in the depths below. The USS John C. Stennis Carrier Strike Group had been conducting round-the-clock operations in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom for 6 months, when Lieutenant Commander Sarah Viper Rodriguez received what should have been a routine reconnaissance mission. The tension in the region was palpable in March 2007. Iranian fast boats were increasingly aggressive in their harassment of coalition vessels, and every flight carried the weight of potential international incident. Rodriguez's SH-60 Seahawk helicopter was tasked with a night patrol along the Iranian maritime border, standard procedure during the heightened tensions that characterized America's complex relationship with Iran during those years. The Seahawk, with its distinctive twin-engine configuration and advanced sensor package, was perfectly suited for maritime surveillance missions in the confined waters of the Persian Gulf. At 34 years old, Rodriguez was no rookie. She'd earned her call sign Viper during her first deployment to the Gulf, where her precise flying and aggressive pursuit of submarine contacts had made her squadron's go-to pilot for high-priority reconnaissance missions. Her crew trusted her judgment implicitly, which made what happened on the night of March 15th all the more significant. The witness account that would eventually trigger a 14-month investigation came in the form of an email exchange, declassified in 2019 under a Freedom of Information Act request. The formality of military correspondence couldn't mask the underlying confusion and concern in Rodriguez's words. From LTCDR Rodriguez, SM, to Squadron Intelligence Officer. Subject, AAR, Anomalous Contact Report. Classification, confidential. Sir, per your request for additional details regarding the contact reported during mission 07315 Alpha. At approximately 347 local, while conducting patrol pattern Zebra 7 at Angels 500, my aircrew observed what initially appeared to be a submarine contact approximately 2 nautical miles southeast of our position. The contact was moving at an estimated 40-plus knots in a northwesterly direction, significantly faster than any known submarine class currently operated by regional navies. When we moved to investigate, the thermal signature revealed something unprecedented. The contact measured approximately 200 to 300 feet in length, but the heat pattern was organic in nature, sir. Not metallic. My sensor operator, Petty Officer Martinez, has over 3,000 flight hours and has never seen anything like it. What happened next still doesn't make sense to any of us. The contact suddenly accelerated to what our instruments measured as over 80 knots. Impossible for any marine life of that size, according to everything we know about marine biology. Then it simply vanished from all sensors simultaneously. Not gradually fading as it dove deeper, but an instantaneous disappearance from thermal, radar, and sonar. I'm submitting this report because 3 other aircraft in our battle group have reported similar contacts over the past 2 weeks. Whatever we're seeing out there, it's not in any recognition manual we've been provided. The email Rodriguez sent to her intelligence officer would trigger a quiet investigation that lasted 14 months and involved personnel from multiple agencies. Naval Intelligence interviewed her crew multiple times, analyzed every byte of sensor data from that night, and even consulted with marine biologists at the prestigious Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in Massachusetts. The official conclusion, when it finally came, was as predictable as it was unsatisfying. Equipment malfunction compounded by sleep deprivation and operational stress. But Rodriguez wasn't the only American aviator reporting these encounters. Between March and September 2007, 17 separate air crews operating in the Persian Gulf region documented similar contact. The consistency of the descriptions was deeply troubling to intelligence analysts. Massive biological signatures moving at impossible speeds, showing apparent intelligence in their movement patterns, and demonstrating an ability to evade detection that exceeded anything in the natural world. The environmental conditions that night were absolutely perfect for long-range detection. Calm seas with minimal wave action, minimal thermal layering in the water column, and optimal atmospheric propagation for radar systems. Rodriguez's Seahawk was equipped with the AN/APS-147 multi-mode radar system and forward-looking infrared capable of detecting a submarine periscope at 15 nautical miles. For something that large to simply vanish from multiple independent sensor systems simultaneously defied every conventional explanation the Navy could offer. Perhaps most disturbing was the pattern analysis conducted by the intelligence community in the months following these incidents. The contacts weren't random encounters. They followed established shipping lanes, seemed to observe naval operations from tactically sound distances, and appeared most frequently during high-tempo military activities. As if something down there was watching, learning, and adapting to the increased presence of American and coalition forces in the region. 6 months after Rodriguez filed her report, the USS Hampton, a Los Angeles-class attack submarine patrolling the same general area, reported acoustic contact with multiple large biologics exhibiting what the sonar operator described as coordinated hunting behavior at depths exceeding 2,000 feet. The sounds captured on that submarine's passive sonar array were unlike anything in the Navy's acoustic signature database. The submarine's chief sonar technician, a 20-year veteran of undersea warfare, described them in his official report as whale song, but wrong, like they were trying to imitate us. The Persian Gulf encounters of 2007 established a pattern that would repeat throughout the remaining years of America's global war on terror. Credible witnesses operating sophisticated detection equipment, reporting phenomena that challenged conventional understanding of marine biology. But as Rodriguez and her crew would later discover, these were just the beginning. The investigation began at NATO headquarters in Brussels during the autumn of 2012, more than a year after Operation Unified Protector had officially concluded Libya's civil war. Admiral James Morrison, a career naval officer who had commanded carrier battle groups in 3 different conflicts, found himself reviewing an incident report that challenged everything he thought he knew about maritime operations. Working backwards through the evidence, a different picture began to emerge from what had initially been dismissed as isolated combat stress incidents. The briefing room fell silent as Morrison finished reading the classified addendum to the Libyan intervention. An addendum that documented how 4 separate air forces had submitted nearly identical reports of massive unidentified biological contacts during strike operations against Gaddafi's forces. The common elements were impossible to dismiss. Objects measuring 400 to 600 feet in length, moving at speeds exceeding 100 knots, demonstrating apparent coordination with other similar contacts, and showing what could only be described as tactical awareness of military operations taking place above the surface. 3 weeks before Morrison's briefing, squadron leader Michael Davies had stood before the Joint Intelligence Committee at RF Akrotiri in Cyprus, his usual British confidence replaced by something approaching bewilderment. Davies was a seasoned Tornado GR-4 pilot with 15 years of experience and over 2,000 combat hours, spanning operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Libya. We were maintaining altitude at 25,000 feet, approximately 40 miles northwest of Tripoli, when the Fleur picked up multiple contacts in the water below. Davies had testified to the committee. Initially, we assumed they were ships, possibly Libyan naval assets attempting to evade coalition patrols and seeking refuge in international waters. But when we descended for visual confirmation, the pause in Davies's testimony had stretched uncomfortably long. This was an aviator who had flown precision strikes during the Iraq War, conducted reconnaissance missions over the mountains of Afghanistan, and had never filed an anomalous contact report in his entire career. The contacts were biological, sir. Massive marine animals moving in formation at impossible speeds. Our targeting system tracked them at over 120 knots, faster than most surface vessels in the Mediterranean. They were coordinating their movements, almost like they were employing tactical formations. 1 month before Davies' testimony, Captain Maria Santos of the United States Marine Corps had been piloting an AV-8B Harrier jump jet during close air support operations near the Libyan city of Sirte. The Harrier, with its unique vertical takeoff capability, was particularly well suited for operations from the USS Kearsarge, an amphibious assault ship that had been providing marine aviation support throughout the Libyan campaign. Santos's initial radio call to the ship had been routine. Kearsarge Control, Lightning 27. I have multiple surface contacts bearing 045, approximately 10 miles from the beach. Request guidance on classification. The response from the ship's Combat Information Center had been immediate and confused. Lightning 27, negative radar contacts at that bearing. Say again your position and contact characteristics. Santos's voice had carried a note of professional uncertainty that was unusual for a Marine Corps aviator. Kearsarge Control, I'm showing at least 6 large contacts moving in formation. They appear to be diving now. Wait, they're gone. All contacts just disappeared from thermal imaging. The Combat Air Patrol that was immediately launched to investigate Santos's sighting found nothing but empty ocean. However, the Kearsarge's sophisticated sonar array had detected something else during the exact time frame of Santos's report. Acoustic signatures unlike anything in their recognition database. Sounds that seemed almost communicative in nature, lasting for exactly 47 minutes after Santos's visual sighting had ended. The beginning of this Mediterranean mystery could be traced back to French pilot Major Alexandre Dubois during the early days of the Libyan intervention in August 2011. His Dassault Rafale fighter had been conducting reconnaissance over the Gulf of Sirte when he first reported anomalous marine contacts exhibiting non-standard behavior patterns in his official mission debrief. The environmental conditions had been optimal for visual identification. Clear skies, excellent visibility extending to the horizon, calm seas with minimal surface disturbance. Dubois had been using the latest generation targeting pod with synthetic aperture radar and high-definition thermal imaging capabilities. When he first spotted the contacts through his advanced sensors, his initial tactical assessment had been straightforward: potential submarine threats that required immediate investigation and possible engagement. But submarines don't travel in coordinated pods of 8 vessels. They don't execute synchronized diving maneuvers with precision timing that would make a Navy demonstration team proud. And they certainly don't surface in perfect formation, maintaining optimal positioning relative to overhead aircraft, as if observing and studying the military operations taking place above them. What had begun as isolated sightings by individual aircrew members revealed itself, when examined in reverse chronology, to be part of a much larger and more disturbing pattern. The creatures, for lack of a more accurate military term, seemed inexplicably drawn to areas of intense combat operations. They appeared during major strikes against Libyan government forces, observed from what could only be described as tactically sound distances, and demonstrated movement capabilities that exceeded any known form of marine life in the Mediterranean Sea. The NATO investigation officially concluded that the reports represented misidentification of known marine life under unusual environmental conditions and the stress of sustained combat operations. But the classified addendum to that official report noted one troubling detail that couldn't be easily explained away. Similar reports were simultaneously being filed by Russian and Chinese military forces operating in the same region. Forces that had no communication with NATO personnel and no reason to fabricate identical stories. The Mediterranean encounters suggested something unprecedented in the annals of maritime warfare: apparent intelligence, tactical coordination, and strategic awareness demonstrated by marine life forms that, according to established scientific understanding, shouldn't possess such capabilities. The pattern was expanding beyond individual pilot sightings into something that resembled systematic observation of human military activities. In the classified archives of Central Command, buried beneath layers of operational security and bureaucratic denial, lie documents that tell a very different story than the official military narrative. The Bagram files, as they came to be known among intelligence analysts, represent perhaps the most compelling evidence of systematic encounters with unexplained phenomena during America's longest war. The official military document, stamped with the familiar red classifications that mark our nation's most sensitive secrets, told a simple story of mistaken identity and equipment failure. Classification: secret, no foreign operation. Enduring freedom. Incident date: 15 Nov 2009. Location: Arabian Sea, Grid Square, PQ 4789. Summary: during routine maritime patrol operations, elements of the 451st Air Expeditionary Wing reported radar contact with unidentified surface vessel. Investigation revealed no hostile activity. Weather conditions and equipment calibration issues likely contributed to false returns. No threat assessment required. Recommendation: standard maintenance protocols for radar systems. No further action required. Classified. By Colzer J. Harrison, 451st AEWCC Declassification. Date: 25/1/2034. But when official reports directly contradict witness testimony from experienced military personnel, the questions become impossible to ignore. The debriefing transcript from the following day painted a starkly different picture of what had occurred over the Arabian Sea on that November night. Interviewer: Captain Reynolds. Intelligence subject: Major Frank Hawkeye Thompson, P8, Poseidon pilot. Date: 16 Nov 2009. Classification: secret. Reynolds. Major Thompson, please describe the contacts you observed during yesterday's patrol mission. Thompson: Sir, with all due respect, these weren't radar anomalies or equipment malfunctions. My crew has over 4,000 combined hours on the P-8 Poseidon platform. We know what weather returns look like, what commercial shipping looks like, what whales look like during their seasonal migrations. This was none of those things. Reynolds, elaborate on the specific contact characteristics you observed. Thompson, we initially detected 3 large contacts approximately 60 miles southwest of our position, moving through international waters at high speed. They were traveling in formation at speeds our calculations put at over 90 knots. When we descended to investigate and got visual confirmation, the MAD gear, the magnetic anomaly detector, went completely haywire. Readings unlike anything we'd seen in years of submarine hunting. Reynolds, could these contacts have been submarines, Iranian or Pakistani naval assets? Thompson, absolutely not, sir. The acoustic signatures were all wrong for mechanical propulsion. My sonar operator, Senior Chief Martinez, has been hunting enemy submarines for 18 years, served on 3 different patrol aircraft. He said the sounds were biological in nature, but structured, like communication between intelligent entities. Reynolds, you're suggesting these were marine animals communicating. Thompson, the contacts would emit low-frequency sounds, then change course in precise coordination with each other. Not like whales or dolphins during feeding or mating behaviors. This was more like tactical communication between units of a military formation. And the size, sir. Our instruments indicated these things were over 500 feet in length. Nothing in nature moves that fast at that size. The testimony from Thompson's crew created immediate problems for the official narrative that intelligence officers were trying to construct. Technical Sergeant Williams, the flight engineer with over a decade of experience on maritime patrol aircraft, corroborated the acoustic anomalies. The sonar returns showed multiple contacts moving in perfect formation, executing synchronized maneuvers that would require both communication and intelligence to coordinate. Petty Officer Martinez, the acoustic sensor operator whose job was to distinguish between submarines and marine life, was even more direct in his assessment. In 20 years of submarine hunting operations, I've never heard anything like what we recorded that night. The sounds were definitely biological, low-frequency calls similar to whale song, but with structure and rhythm that suggested language or tactical communication. Most problematic for the official cover story was the testimony of Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the mission commander who had ultimate responsibility for the aircraft and crew. Whatever we encountered down there was aware of our presence and actively reacting to our movements and flight patterns. When we changed altitude, the contacts altered their formation accordingly. When we circled to get a better look, they maintained optimal positioning relative to our aircraft's sensors. The sensor data from the P-8 Poseidon told a story that was fundamentally incompatible with the official report's conclusions. The aircraft's AN/APY-10 radar system had recorded multiple large contacts exhibiting coordinated movement patterns across a 12-minute observation period. The magnetic anomaly detector had registered signatures consistent with large metallic objects, but the acoustic data clearly indicated biological origins rather than mechanical propulsion systems. The environmental conditions on November 15, 2018 had been optimal for detection and identification. Calm seas with minimal surface chop, minimal thermal layering in the water column that could cause false returns, and excellent atmospheric propagation conditions for radar systems. The P-8's sensor suite represented the most advanced maritime patrol technology available to the United States military at that time. Independent analysis of the raw data by Naval Air Systems Command concluded that equipment malfunction was highly unlikely, given the redundant nature of the sensor systems and the consistency of returns across multiple independent platforms operating in the same area. Colonel Harrison, the commanding officer who had signed the official report attributing the incidents to equipment malfunction, would later testify to the Pentagon's Unexplained Aerial Phenomena Task Force in 2019. The decision to classify these encounters as equipment malfunctions was made at levels well above my command authority. The actual sensor data and witness testimony suggested something unprecedented that we simply didn't have protocols to address. What do you think happened out there in the Arabian Sea that November night? The evidence suggests something far more complex than simple equipment failure, but the official response was designed to end questions rather than answer them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In 2018, Major Thomason, by then retired from active duty, testified before a closed congressional hearing on unidentified military encounters. His testimony remains classified to this day, but congressional sources indicate the session lasted over 6 hours and resulted in the formation of a new investigative task force specifically focused on maritime anomalies. The contradiction between official military reports and credible witness testimony suggested something beyond simple misidentification or equipment failure. The pattern indicated either unprecedented marine life behavior in our oceans or systematic suppression of credible military encounters by personnel sworn to protect American interests. The accounts from America's global war on terror operations paint a deeply troubling picture of systematic encounters with unexplained maritime phenomena that our military and intelligence communities seem reluctant to acknowledge. From the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean, from the Arabian Sea to the North Atlantic shipping lanes, American military personnel reported remarkably consistent observations. Massive biological entities exhibiting apparent intelligence, tactical coordination, and what could only be described as active interest in human military operations. The credibility of these witnesses cannot be easily dismissed or explained away by those who prefer conventional answers to extraordinary questions. These were experienced aviators, submarine crews, and sensor operators, the backbone of America's military aviation community. Personnel who had been trained extensively to distinguish between known threats and anomalous contacts. Individuals who operated the most advanced detection equipment available to modern armed forces, working under optimal environmental conditions for accurate identification and classification. Yet the pattern of official responses from military leadership suggests institutional reluctance, if not outright determination, to acknowledge these encounters as anything other than equipment malfunctions, weather phenomena, or misidentification of known marine life. Standard explanations that fail to account for the remarkable consistency of witness testimony and sensor data collected across multiple theaters of operation, multiple years of conflict, and multiple branches of the American military. The human cost of war extends far beyond casualty statistics and combat trauma, though both of those burdens are significant enough. It includes the psychological burden of experiencing phenomena that challenge fundamental assumptions about our world, then being ordered by superior officers to deny that those experiences ever occurred. These service members returned home to American soil carrying classified secrets that effectively isolated them from both their military communities and civilian society. For those who served in these remote theaters, the gulf between their lived experiences and official acknowledgement represents another form of combat stress. The stress of being professionally required to deny reality. The stress of knowing that their testimony, their professional observations, their sensor data, and their years of training and experience were being systematically dismissed in favor of bureaucratic convenience. The broader implications extend beyond individual military careers or even military institutional credibility. If our oceans contain life forms exhibiting intelligence, coordination, and tactical awareness at the scale described in these accounts, then our understanding of marine biology, ocean ecology, and perhaps even the nature of intelligence itself may require fundamental revision. These accounts also raise uncomfortable questions about transparency between America's military institutions and the civilian population they serve. If credible military personnel are systematically reporting encounters with unexplained phenomena, and those reports are being systematically suppressed or mischaracterized, what other significant information might be similarly concealed from public knowledge? The truth, as it always has been in warfare, remains elusive somewhere in the depths. The ocean covers 71% of our planet's surface, yet we've explored less than 5% of its depths. For the American pilots who served during our nation's global war on terror, that unexplored darkness held more than just enemy submarines and hostile territory. It held questions that may never be answered. If these accounts from America's servicemen and women intrigue you, consider subscribing for more stories that deserve to be heard. These testimonies represent more than just military history. They represent the experiences of those who served our country in the most remote and dangerous places on Earth. Disclaimer: these stories are presented as submitted accounts and military records from personnel who served during America's global war on terror. The accounts represent witness testimony and official documentation as reported through military channels. All classified material referenced has been declassified or is presented as reported in publicly available sources. Interpretations of events may vary, and viewers are encouraged to draw their own conclusions about the nature of these encounters.